When you feel like life has dealt you a hand of unfair cards, instead of folding, you double down and you stuck in the game. You faced battles, you felt broken, but hey, do us a favor, put your hand on your heart. You feel that? You're still here. Welcome to the Resilience Files Unlocked, where survival meets transformation. Welcome to the Resilience Files Unlocked, where survival meets transformation. I'm your host, Carrie Bernunz, actress, stunt woman. This space was created for you. It's honest conversations about survival, reinvention, healing, and quiet strength. And it takes us to a place where we keep going, even when life throws us a hand of unexpected cards. I am so excited because we have an amazing guest today, which is living proof that a diagnosis is not your destiny. After a catastrophic accident, life left her with shattered bones, multiple breaks, and doctors telling her that she would most likely never walk again. She chose to believe in something different. So this story is about mind over matter, faith in yourself, and the power of refusing to accept the can't. As we do in the fashion of Resilience Files, we are going to go ahead and read the essay of our guest today. And this is Cindra Stolk's story. It was early afternoon on a Sunday in the year 2000. My husband and I were off to an early dinner. We decided to drive via a two-way highway to our location. There were many twists and turns on this highway. I was driving. When I came around one of the corners, I saw a car coming head-on towards us. Out of instinct, I tried to swerve away from the oncoming car, which placed me directly in its path. The car T-boned me and threw the car off the road. I remember telling my husband my arm was shattered and my hip was broken, and after that, I saw what I had heard many times, the light, as a person is dying. I blacked out and woke up in the trauma ICU ER with doctors leaning over me, cutting my clothes away and checking the extent of my injuries I sustained. I heard the doctor tell my husband to call our children and to come to the ER in an effort for them to say goodbye. I was in critical condition. Then I blacked out again. When I woke up, I was in a trauma ICU hospital bed with all kinds of medical equipment hooked up to me. My husband told me what had happened. Apparently, the fire department had to use jaws of life to remove me from the car. Shattered my left arm, broke my neck, back, hip, and pelvis when the car crashed me. When the doctor came to my room to go over my injuries a few days later and what the next steps were, I was told, due to the extent of my injuries, I most likely won't walk again. Being an athlete and very active person, I refused to believe this was going to be my life. After several surgeries, plates, and pins, I was finally sent home to recover. I had already told myself I had a long road ahead of me, but I was not going to live the remainder of my life in a wheelchair. I had my husband lift me into our pool each day so I could float with zero gravity to keep my blood flowing and not allow a trophy to set in. It was frustrating. I was the one who cared for everyone. Now my husband had to bathe me, dress me, cook for me, and be by my side for 6 months until I was able to care for myself. After 6 months, I was able to get away from the wheelchair and walk with crutches. 3 months later, I was able to walk on my own. I'm a firm believer that mind over matter really matters and really works. I would not allow myself to think that 1 minute I'll never walk again. I willed myself to walk, worked so hard to make it happen that I succeeded. The crazy thing about this accident was the person who hit me was an illegal alien from Mexico, and he left the U.S. after the accident with no repercussions for life forever. At 70, I am a living testament to what can be done if you work hard and don't take the can't as an answer to what you'll never do. I'm alive and I'm thriving. And can I say, y'all, I'm looking at Cindra Stolk right now, and she does not look a day over 40. Like, she looks good. And wow. Cindra, before we get started, we always check in and ask people after their essay has been read, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Well, quite honestly, just having you read it to me, I'm on the verge of tears.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
that was the most challenging life situation I've had, and I'm in my 70s, and we go through a lot,
Yeah.
and that was a life changer. Little bit teary right now, just thinking about what my kids and my husband had to do for me after
Yeah.
years of doing for them and literally not able to do anything. I mean, I couldn't do anything. So that was number one issue I had to face, being the caregiver and then ending up having to be
To
cared
be
for.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Cindra. I'm so happy you're here with us today. Can you take us back to that Sunday afternoon in 2000? You and your husband, y'all were on your way to breakfast, and in a moment, your entire life shifts. What do you remember about those moments right before the crash?
Well, we were actually on our way to an early dinner. So I was
Already.
2 weeks out from a bodybuilding competition. I
Wow.
competed in my 20s, in my 30s, and in my 40s until I got hit by the drunk driver. Still have my arms today.
Looking good, girl. Looking good.
Still live in the gym. As I told you, got my certifications as a personal trainer, but didn't get them to train people. I got them to learn how to work around my injuries and get myself back on my feet. Ultimately led me to people thinking I was unbelievable, bionic woman, and they wanted me to train them. If I could train a broken person to
Yeah.
be fit and strong, they wanted me to train them. So I had quite a good journey just being a personal trainer. But
Yeah.
that day we were headed to an early all protein dinner 2 weeks out from my bodybuilding competition where I was in my carb depletion period
Wow.
and talking about who my competition was going to be. And it's right around the corner. And I had a great workout that day and came around a corner and here comes a car right at me. So
Wow.
in a second, your instincts say, move, get out of the way. I was driving, my husband was shotgun. I turned to put myself right in the face of the car coming at me.
Wow.
So all I remember is I told him I loved him. I knew I was dying. I was sure I was dying. I saw the light. I was blacking
Yeah.
out. I said, I love you. I said, I think my arm is shattered and I think my hip is broken. I could feel the pain of the bones sticking out of my body,
Yeah.
and how much it hurt. But I passed out at that point and woke up in emergency room with doctors all over me, cutting off my Levi's. And I remember thinking, this is silly. And I can't remember the brand of the Levi's right now. It was 26 years ago.
Yeah.
You're ruining my pants. I just got these. Here I am dying. And it's like, wait, what? You're cutting my Levi's off.
Yeah.
And they gave it. And later I kept saying, where's my Levi's? Where's my Levi's? They put them in a bag and sent them home with me shredded. But the point is, my husband said, the doctor said, call your boys in. I don't think she's going to make it. She's
Wow.
really suffering here. She's in bad shape. So,
How did that land on your body and your ears when you heard that?
well, it was pretty scary. And I recall my two sons saying, fight, mom, fight. You're a fighter. You've always been a fighter. You're not
Yeah.
leaving us. You need to fight.
Oh,
And that's when I blacked out and woke up 2 days later in trauma ICU in a hospital bed. So,
wow. Ooh, that gives me chills.
well,
Ah, I mean, you've always been a fighter. For you to even 2 weeks prior to get ready for a big bodybuilding competition, you've known discipline your whole life. And, it's that interesting shift that you said you made it from being the caregiver and taking care of your whole family. And I think hearing your children that you birthed and that you cared for tell you that I'm sure it woke up something inside of you.
absolutely. You think about who you'd leave behind. And more
Yeah.
importantly, who's going to take care of them? I'm the caregiver. So,
Yeah.
oh my God, if my husband has to cook dinner or clean the house, we're screwed.
You're
But,
right.
I've always had the fight in me. I was the very first female to take wood shop and auto shop in high school back in the
You
early
better go
60s.
ahead.
I mean, they said, you're going to get hurt. We can't allow you to take these classes. And my dad, thank God, said, if she's going to get hurt, the guys in the classroom will get hurt too. They have the same
Oh,
parts.
dad.
Yes.
Yes.
So I was the
Yes.
very first ever to take auto shop and
Uh,
wood shop. And I just wasn't your typical gal. I was a tomboy. And,
Yeah.
our lives parallel quite a bit, you and I. I read your website and your page, and you're an athlete. And, an athlete
Yeah.
is an individual that
Mhm.
it's hard to explain the pain you'll take and what you'll
Mhm.
do to succeed, and to be better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, I was in an accident where I got hit by a drunk driver as well. He's in
Oh,
prison. Yeah, but I don't know if you knew about it, but I'm gonna talk about it more on the podcast. I haven't really went into episode on it, but I got hit by a drunk driver and I had fractured broken bones in my face, teeth, and foot fracture and arm, hip, the whole thing, surgeries and being told too, like, it could be a possibility of not being able to walk and, like, where there's a will, there's a way, and at the time, I had a six-month-old, and my
oh,
son was the one that pushed me through, and he wouldn't take the bottle, and I was breastfeeding, and I was just like, I pushed myself to even go to the extent of not taking medication sometimes just to breastfeed him, so but I applaud you. I think, you were going through so many things at that moment, and I'm so happy that your family was there to show up for you. I wanna ask you, from going to a person as a bodybuilder and, having such an active fitness lifestyle to being told that you'll never walk again, that's life altering for anyone, especially you. What went through your mind when the doctor said that? And what made you immediately say that that's not gonna be my future?
well, because I was an athlete and because I've seen athletes get injured and come back unbelievable. I mean, you hear about the football players, you hear about, Lindsey Vonn just shattered her tibia trying to go for the Olympic gold, and she
Yeah.
doesn't regret any bit of it. She said,
Yeah.
if I didn't try, I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But having someone, first of all, tell you you're probably never gonna walk again, I think is insane. No doctor should put that mindset in anybody's mind,
Yeah.
because I've always believed there's mind over matter. I've done things there's no way I should be able to do, but I tell myself I can, and I do it, and so I just feel like, there was an 18-year-old that had a similar experience, hit by a drunk driver. She tried to commit suicide. She was in the same situation you and I were both in. You're looking at surgery, looking at recovery. You're looking at the different person you're going to be after, and wondering if it's worth it all. And she tried to commit suicide, and the doctor asked me would I go and sit with her and talk to her and show her what I was able to do with the same situation. And I said, absolutely. So this teenager, who is now 26 years old, or a mother with three children, bonded. She said that saved her life. Me
Wow.
coming in and saying, I was you. I couldn't walk. I was in pain. I wasn't sure I was going to make it, or wanted to make it, if that was going to be my lifestyle. And I
Wow.
said, sweetie, you're going to get this. You're going to do this. We're going to do it
Mhm.
together. You are too young. I was
Yeah.
in my 40s. She's 18. And I
Yeah.
said, boy, if this old lady can pull through, you certainly can pull through. And
Oh,
she did. And to this day, we stay in touch. And she's a beautiful woman that tried to commit suicide. She goes, no
yeah.
way. There's no way I'm living in a wheelchair. No way. I'm going to
Yeah.
let everybody take care of me. It's not going to happen.
Wow.
So,
Sandra, that's so beautiful. So thankful you empathized and shared your story with her. I think that's so important. And this podcast is going to reach so many people around the world that's going to also need to hear that. If that's you today that is contemplating suicide because you've been dealt an unfair situation, just know that you can and will bounce back. And this is not the end of your story. This is the plot twist to your story to show you how tough and strong you really are, to show you how capable you really are, and that this will pass, and that this is the wheelchair is temporary, and the wheelchair is long term. That you might have an even better life than you've ever imagined in that wheelchair, and it's a new reality, but it's not the end of your story.
That's right,
And
and I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason. What is the reason? Why did I have to go through that pain? Why did I get hit by the drunk driver? I mean, there's reasons for everything. So, maybe my reason was to save an 18-year-old from committing
yeah.
suicide,
Ooh,
or I brought about change in handicap situations. I found when I was 6 months in a wheelchair, just going shopping, I couldn't get through the racks of clothes. There was no room to migrate through things. And then there was a gal that pulled into they gave me a temporary handicap uh thing so I could park
yeah.
clothes. There was a gal that flew into the handicap space, jumped out of her car, ran into the store, and my husband was livid. He goes, "There's nothing handicap about you. What are you doing here?" And she goes, "I'm just going in to get some shampoo from the beauty shop. I'll be just 5 minutes." And he says, "You got to be kidding me. My wife is paralyzed. She needs this space. I need the room to get her wheelchair out, and you're running in to get hair, shampoo." And
Yeah.
I think it changed her life too when she saw what she did was not right. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't do stuff like that. And so they
Right.
started to impose really heavy fines on people parking in handicap. So I
Yeah.
tried to avenge these things while I was incapacitated to make it easier on those that would deal with it later on.
Yeah.
So I feel that
Well,
that
that's good.
helped.
Yeah, that's important to advocate for others, especially in circumstances like that. I think that that's crazy, and you're so right. I think like I realized a lot of limitations once the accident happened for myself, and you see things from a different perspective. But then I think like even now, I'm not sure about you, but I do believe that there is still some invisible disabilities that exist. And I mean, it wasn't in that woman's situation, but sometimes there's people that have to park handicapped that may not, you can't see their physical injury. You don't know because they're wearing a pants leg if they got a prosthetic leg or not. But in her situation, she got a life shaking response because I do hate when people abuse those type of situations. Like, what are you doing? There's real people that have real issues and problems that no one would ever know about. And people are very selfish in this world, unfortunately. And they are thinking, oh, it's just 5 minutes. That 5 minutes might take someone else 15 minutes to get out of the car. And you can't give the decency of having that space. I appreciate that you advocated. I want to just like talk about your road to recovery because in that moment you're recovering, right? You endured multiple surgeries, plates, pins. You came home with a completely different life that you've never imagined or lived before. What was the hardest part of suddenly needing help for everything, navigating through the, store and looking at racks of clothes or getting groceries? What was the hardest part of your journey?
The hardest part was having to be cared for and not the one that cared for my family. And I think as women, we're caregivers anyways.
Yeah.
We don't. I do now. I've taught my husband how to cook. I've taught my husband how to do my hair. In
Oh,
case
girl.
anything happens again, I'm going to make sure he knows how to step up and
Yeah.
help out. But the hardest part was, the pain. The pain is insufferable. Half
Mhm.
my body was crashed and it was just the car was in me. They had to pull the car out of me. I had
Oh,
shattered my bones. My bones were sticking out, out of my flesh and the concentration was on my arm and my hip because the bones were broken and poking through my skin. Little did they know my neck was broken, my back
oh,
was broken,
yeah.
knee was shattered. I mean, they go for what they can see first and foremost until they put you through the x-ray and put you through the MRIs, and then they find out, there's other trauma that took place. However,
Right.
I will say, and I've been an advocate for this too, and I'm sure you are too, the doctor said the fact that I was 2 weeks out of a bodybuilding competition saved my life, that
Look,
my
definitely
muscular
relate.
skeletal strength would have killed any normal person had I
Mhm,
not had that, what I went through. I should not have
mhm,
walked well, I didn't walk away, but I mean, I should have been instantly killed. But he said the depth of your training and
mhm.
your muscles surrounding your bones and your heart and your neck and your back, Yes, they're broken, but it should have killed you. This accident
Yeah.
absolutely should have killed you.
Mhm.
So at that point, I've just been huge on diet, on working out, on, on here I am in my 70s. I'm a senior Olympian. I just competed in March of last year, made it to the nationals. I'm
Congratulations.
competing in the nationals and this year, and I'm just always putting a goal out there. I'm always striving to be better, stronger, nicer, kinder, anything, to reinvent myself into a person that I think people would want to be, that would look up to and make a better world for all of us.
Yeah.
But
I
I'll tell
love
you, the
that. Wow.
gym, when I train, people want me to train them.
Yeah.
And it's a funny thing, they'll say, "Oh, that's hard," or "My back hurts," or my and I'll say, "Come with me. We're gonna sit down just for a minute," because they don't know my story. And I'll give them a short synopsis of what I went through, and I'll say, "So here's how I operate. You want this? I will train you. You want to give me excuses? You're not my person. I have no business working with you because I've
Mhm.
overcome everything to be here today. And you're complaining that your back hurts, or
Right.
you're tired, you're sore. It's
Yeah.
like it's called workout. There's a reason for it. You work.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I've been an inspiration to my grandkids. I have 5 grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
I've got them in the gym. I've got them working out, competing, and setting goals every year, and so it was worth it. I mean, it was
Yeah.
tough, but, I mean, I'm here to inspire and empower others.
Yeah, I love that. Wow, you're fascinating. Just like your mindset and mentality, and you're right. Like I think at the beginning, what you said is like because your body was conditioned and you've been training, your body was able to, unfortunately, but fortunately, take that type of impact and survive. And you're right, most people it would not have. They unfortunately we would have been attending their funeral. But for you, it was a new lease on life and you came back to life with a whole new chapter, a whole new title to the book that you didn't expect. I wanted to move into something because you did say something in your essay that I think is so deeply unfair, and I understand your experience here. The person who caused the crash faced no real circumstances or consequences. And how did you process that injustice? And did
So
anger
it's
ever show
hard.
up in your healing
It's
journey because
hard.
of that?
I mean, it gets even worse than that. So
Oh no.
he's an illegal alien. He stole the vehicle
Oh,
that hit me. He walked away from it, as most drunks do, because they're incapacitated, so they don't tense up, and so they're usually able to walk away. He went back to Mexico. We traced the car's license plate to a gal who had had it stolen 2 days previously, and she's just besides herself because it had almost killed somebody. Um, this whole thing today with ICE and with the situation going on, I'm on the fence with it. Um, I don't have a problem with aliens coming over here whatsoever. My grandparents are from Italy. I'm an immigrant family, from an immigrant family. They came here the right way. They came here the legal way. They did what they needed to do to become US citizens. I think the problems we're having today is people are just dumping into our country and yes, there are thugs and there are bad people. There's good people too, but I want
mhm.
them to do it the right way. I want them to pay taxes like we do. I want them to get insurance like we have to get. I want them to be accountable for doing things like what happened to me,
Yeah.
not run back to Mexico and say, "Oh, well, whatever." And then My insurance, my car insurance said my health insurance should take care of it. My health insurance said
Hmm.
my car insurance. We had to hire an attorney to fight for my life. Or neither one were going to pay for anything because they pointed the
Wow.
fingers at each other. $80,000 later, and we're talking 26 years ago. I guess it'd be like $250,000 today.
Mhm.
Insurance to go 50-50 and help me with my bills and my recovery and everything. A car, my car was demolished. I had nothing.
Yeah.
And that's pathetic too. But the car insurance said it was a health issue because I was so sick and needed so much help that they're not going to cover me. And the health insurance company said it's a car accident. Your car insurance needs to cover you.
Yeah.
So I learned you take out uninsured motorist insurance
Yes.
big time. So to this day, I carry $1 million of uninsured car insurance. Had I had that, I would have been fine. That would have been covered, all my
Mhm.
expenses and everything. And now they say you can't drive without, having insurance. And we know better than that. There's people driving all over
Without
without insurance, illegally,
everywhere.
whatever, can't afford it. So I also advocate that you cover yourself with uninsured motorists after what happened to me because I got screwed every way you can think of. I mean, I'm fighting for
Wow.
my life, and now I'm told no one's going to cover my medical and help
Yeah.
me get better. So
Whew,
it's
I'm
yeah,
so sorry. I'm definitely facing some challenges myself, and I don't want to get into that whole book, but I can relate with you, and I definitely recommend uninsured motorists. I also recommend that people look into every state. I think now has to carry like it's another insurance when a person faces like something tragically like this, and it's not their fault of their is no fault of theirs. Um, Something with no fault, but it's still really sad, and, I would love to say that you are 70 years old, as you said. You described yourself and you're alive and thriving, and you look beautiful. What does thriving look like for you today?
being
What are you
able
most
to
proud
get
of?
out of bed every morning and praise the Lord, I'm still here. And,
Yes.
I look around and I see senior citizens my age or even younger, struggling with their health
Mhm.
and with diabetes and with hypertension and, all kinds of health issues starting at 55 to 90. And I look at myself and I say, I'm so blessed. I mean, I don't take any medication, none whatsoever.
Wow.
I don't need any help every time I make an appointment to go have a physical or see a doctor. They go, "Do you need help coming in? Are you able to care for yourself? Are you?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm fine. I don't have
Yeah.
any problems with that." But that makes me understand there's so many that do have those problems,
Yeah.
and if I see seniors, I've got seniors coming to my gym that are recovering from knee replacement or hip replacement. The doctor said, you've got to get in the gym. You've got to do weight bearing. I will make an effort to walk up to them and praise them for their effort and tell them it is not an
Right.
easy road, but like you said, it's temporary. The
Yes,
situation is temporary. You can do it, and you'll be better off for doing it. So
it will
I
be.
just feel like my path has been probably similar to yours, where you're more passionate now about being strong and healthy and
Mhm.
persevering and not taking no for an answer. And, tell me I can't do something. Oh, watch out. Watch out.
Oh,
Those
the
are
fire
fighting
inside
words.
is lit up all the
Yes,
way.
those are fighting words. And
Mhm.
it's like I just I'm happy to be here. I'm really happy to be here and to enjoy my grandchildren and my children and life in general because the other side of that is I'm 6 feet under and I've got
Yeah,
my family mourning me and hating the person that hit me and hating life because I was taken, and
right.
we're all on borrowed time. We don't know what
Yeah.
when our last day is. None of us do.
Right.
But I think like with you and I coming so close to death, we
Right.
appreciate it that much more because we saw what the other side could have been, and
Yeah.
people don't appreciate what they have. They don't appreciate getting up each day. And I think
Mhm.
we need more of that. We need people saying, ah, another day, let's go get it,
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank
I
you,
100.
Lord.
Yeah. I completely
Mm,
agree with you. And if someone is listening right now who's facing a diagnosis, a setback, a moment where everything feels impossible, maybe they were hit by a car too, or maybe they had the craziest health scare of their life. What do you want them to know? How do
There
they get through that journey?
there is light at the end of the tunnel before you consider taking your life, before you think life is over. There's so many vehicles to help you today. There's so many outlets to call, or even peers, your peers. You may have peers that went through the same thing but didn't discuss it with you. I mean, when you have a severe accident, out of the woodwork about your friends that suffered this, that, and the other, or whose family member, went through a similar circumstance. I mean, we have the help, I think, today that we never had 30 years ago, 40 years ago to encourage and empower you to get through the hard part to make it worth the rest of your life.
I love that. And one thing I think that I had a problem with, and I think there's probably somebody listening on today that also probably had those issues, but you can say it from a different perspective because I didn't have a husband at the time, girl, and I don't have one now, maybe in the future. But when the caregiver, as we wrap up, becomes the one to be cared for, it is a really hard place to be in because I didn't personally want to be in that place. When I was in the trauma ICU of the hospital I was in, I cried about people helping me, but I was in so much pain. Sometimes I would be afraid to ask for help because I felt like I was a nuisance to someone. I was like making them do something and I couldn't do it for myself because I've always been that person that's done everything for everyone. And to ask for that help felt hard, restrictive. If someone is in this situation right now and they need to be cared for, how do you say, like, just let go and allow yourself to heal and to be cared for? What can you pour into that person today?
Well, I think for you and I alike, because we've been there, done that, it's powerful for
Yeah.
us to say, ask for help. I've offered help so many times to people, and
Hmm.
I've said, it's not beneath you to ask me to come help you. You're going through a surgery. You just found out you have a cancer diagnosis. I'm currently dealing with a friend that just found out he's in stage 3 of kidney failure. So his next step is being on dialysis for the rest of
Right.
his life. And, I offered it if it's a match, I offered him one of my kidneys. I have 2. I don't know if it's a match, but I love that person that much, and he's afraid to tell his significant other because he doesn't want them worrying about the final stages that he's gonna go through, and I sit and tell him, "You need that support structure. You need that person on your team fighting for you. It's not fair to them not to know what you're dealing with." And then I feel blessed that they trust me enough to share these really dark, things they're going through because if you don't have someone, the other thought is suicide. The other thought is I'm done. I'm going to die anyways. I'm in stage 3 renal failure. The next stage is hooked up to a machine and death. And you have to make these people understand they're worthy. They count. It doesn't matter what they're going through. Someone is going to go through something 10 times worse if they take their life. How can you be so selfish to take your life and leave the loved ones behind wondering what they didn't do to help you through?
Wow.
And that's what I always say, don't even go there. That's
Yeah.
so selfish. Because I have to sit here and say, what did I do wrong that I wasn't good enough to help you through this tough, tough period? you know?
Well, you all heard Cindra. Don't be selfish. We want to help. There's someone that wants to help. And if you feel like you don't have the reliance and support, go to the doctor's office, advocate for yourself, get a social worker. There's also other resources out there available. You can have a caregiver that comes to your home and checks on you. Your insurance should cover that. And if you can't afford insurance, apply for the state aid. And if you can't apply for that, we'll put some resources below as well on this episode. Cindra, I know you're doing a lot of remarkable things these days. How can we follow up with you? How can we support the work that you're doing?
No, I make myself available with the great work you're doing and bringing these things to fruition that people really have a hard time talking about. If you run across anyone in a similar situation, I'm here. I will tell my story. I will tell my path to recovery over and over a million times if it changes one person's mindset on they can get through. They can
Wow.
make it.
Sandra, thank you so much for sharing your story and reminding us that we are far more powerful than we realize. And to everyone listening, if you're breathing, there is still hope. Your story isn't over. Allow Cindra's story, my story, your own personal story be a testament to that. If you're still breathing, you have purpose. You're here. This is the Resilience Files podcast unlocked. We are so happy that you tuned in and listened to the episode today. Follow up with Cindra if you would like. Check out her work. Listen to the next episode. Share it with a friend or someone in need that you know is going through a tough time. We're not alone. We're better together and we can get through this.